We've moved off the floor of Cobo Center, headed down Jefferson Avenue a couple of blocks to the RenCen and the OnStar Command Center. We're joined by Chet Huber, who is president of OnStar. So, Chet, give me the update. 2009, obviously a big year coming up for you, but also a very busy year for you in 2008.
Well, it was. I mean, this continues to be an amazing business. Has been for the entire 13 years that I've been part of it. We're growing like crazy. We continue to grow. We're nearing 6 million active subscribers today. That number will nearly double over the course of the next 3 or 4 years, and so we just plan for growth now. It just is part of what we do. We've launched a number of new services in 2008. We continued to grow turn-by-turn navigation. That's about 1 million routes a month we're delivering now. And in 2008, we launched a relationship with MapQuest, where you can now interact on the web with a tool like MapQuest and send those directions directly to your vehicle so they're ready for you to be used from OnStar. That was a big deal. We actually were able to recognize what is a very emotionally important and significant milestone for the business in the first week in November of last year. And we actually were the pre-first responder to our 100,000th crash event. It was a high-speed crash between a GMC Yukon and a Deere on a highway in Colorado outside of Grand Junction. There were injuries involved, and we were able to do what we do in those events, which is get help to the scene and help the outcomes be better than they would have otherwise been. And that was a big thing for us. I mean, having been here personally for the first crash event, it's almost amazing to me to think through the range of things that happened to respond to the 100,000th crash. And then the other interesting part of the business, and the business keeps evolving in all kinds of interesting ways, we actually launched in November of last year stolen vehicle slowdown. So, you know, the business has grown over the years to the point now where we get involved in about 700 stolen vehicle events a month. And what we've come to learn through that is a lot of bad guys want to get away, and they do stupid things when they want to get away, like drive fast in places they shouldn't. 30,000 high-speed chases a year. About 20–25% of the time, people get hurt, and 300 people die. And so we said, all right, well, we've got technology, we've got the insights and the experience to adapt the technology to these situations. So we've launched a system that we're now building into 1 million vehicles where we take the horsepower away from the crook. You know, it's out in production today. We haven't had our first, kind of really dramatic OJ moment where we've had the helicopter watch the vehicle in a very undramatic way slow down on its own, but we're waiting for that. But we've already put the technology into use a few times and have actually prevented vehicles from starting high-speed chases because the technology literally doesn't let the accelerator apply horsepower to the drive wheels. And so that's a great one.
Now, last week, a couple of your competitors announced similar services to yours. How do you deal with increased competition?
Well, in some ways, the first question that kind of comes to our mind is what took them so long? I mean, we've been doing this for over a decade, and everything that we've learned said that these are important services to customers. They can change important outcomes and save lives. And frankly, the 911 people in particular that are on the receiving end of OnStar calls, whether it's the fire departments that are sending out emergency medical help or whether it's the police departments that get involved, they could use all the help they could get to respond to these events. And so, it's inevitable that these technologies are going to come into vehicles. We've, I think, forced that by virtue of what we've built as a capability and how strong the brand has gotten. And so as people come in, you know, our hope is that they approach it as responsibly as we think we have, and they apply the appropriate diligence to the technology and do it the right way so that everybody has a chance to get better outcomes out of a future where this kind of telemetry just kind of exists in every vehicle.
I know you're not going to get into specifics, but several floors below us, there's somewhere you call the Bat Cave. What kind of work is being done right now for the next update for OnStar for what's going on next? Again, I know you're not going to get into specifics, but some generalities.
Well, I mean, the kind of work is moving the needle in the technology. It's an interesting business because we filed for over 400 patents so far in this business since we started. We still file at the rate of once every 6 days. And I honestly believed at one point in the business that it would settle down and feel less crazy. And the fact of the matter is, the more experience you get, the more you learn, the more you see opportunities to invent the next piece. And so the Batcave is full of some pretty amazing people with a lot of experience that are applying our insights and instincts and customer feedback to the next challenge. And that's so far resulted in 8 generations of OnStar hardware and vehicles that have launched. And that was one of the big questions. When we first started this, I'd say one of the biggest skepticisms was, can the auto industry adapt any way to take advantage of the consumer electronics technology cycles? And that was a fair question because nobody had ever proven it was possible. And right now we're actually launching new generations of vehicle hardware at a pace slightly faster than 18-month consumer cycles. Gen 9 will go into production shortly, and Gen 10 is right now in the final spec freeze phase, and that's going to continue on. And so the folks down there are the folks that are at the heart of kind of helping that engine just keep running and continuing to apply the insights into the next phase of what I think will, from what I know now that is being planned, will be some pretty interesting new services.
OnStar President Chet Huber, thank you so much for joining us, and we will have more coming up from the North American International Auto Show.